1347 AD, 5241 AM. The Black Death sets ashore in Europe. The historical view was that infected rats and sailors brought it to Europe, but studies have shown that the Black Death may have been airborne, beginning in the Far East. In Anunnaki homeworld, it is shown that ice falling to Earth from space has often contained biological or organic compounds, even strange insects. This is possible because Nibiru was once encapsulating in a biosphere of water that turned to fractured glaciers. Then when the planet fragmented, these glaciers became orbiting cometary bodies. The Black Death was probably extraterrestrial in origin. It is this time that the Maya in Central America have vanished from the historical record. Mayan civilization broke apart into many subcultures and spread abroad. 1348 AD, 5242 AM. A comet appeared over Paris, France. A strange pestilential wind infected the island of Cyprus with poisonous air, and many died of asphyxiation. The anomalous nature of this plague at Cyprus was that it was attended with earthquakes. By this time, 50% of Europe's population has died of the Black Death. From the east to the west, thousands died every day as the plague ran its course. Ibn Iyas wrote that the plague killed cats, dogs, horses, camels, asses, birds, and even wild animals way out in the desert places. Arabic chronicler Ibn Khaldun, 1332 to 1406 AD, wrote that, quote, civilization both in the east and the west was visited by a destructive plague, which devastated nations and caused populations to vanish. Civilization decreased with the decrease of mankind. Cities and buildings were laid waste, roads and way signs were obliterated, settlements and mansions emptied, dynasties and tribes grew weak. The entire inhabited world changed, unquote. 1. Sages and Seers. 3. 2007 Almanac. 4. It seemed like a good idea at the time. 5. History in quotations. 1349 AD, 5243 AM. The Jews are expelled from Saxony. The Black Death killed about a third of England's population by this time. 1. Jewish supremacism. 2. March of the Titans. 1350 AD, 5244 AM. Planet Phoenix passed through the inner solar system, completing its 138 years orbit. There are no records of a sighting. The intruder planet will not be seen until 1764 AD, and then it will be witnessed by hundreds of thousands of people. 1352 AD, 5246 AM. The Yellow River in China flooded vast lowlands, washing away villages and farmlands, increasing disease during a time already plagued by epidemic and famine. 1. 1421. 1353 AD, 5247 AM. The Christian Byzantines of Constantinople acquired military aid from the Turks in their struggle against the Serbian kings. This was the first time the Turks had crossed the Dardanelles Strait in aggression against Europeans, and this invitation to the Turks would exactly 100 years later, in 1453, result with the fall of Constantinople by Turkish military. This was the same mistake the Briton Vortigern committed when he asked the Saxons to come to Britain and aid him against the Scots and Picts, which resulted in Saxon England. 1354 AD, 5248 AM. King Magnus of Norway sends out an expedition to map out the northern regions of North America, exactly 138 years before Columbus's famous discovery of America in 1492. This is known to historians as the Kensington Expedition. These men left a record of their journey and exploits known as the Kensington Runestone. See 1362 AD. 1356 AD, 5250 AM. The English defeated the French in battle at Poitiers. A major earthquake shocks Egypt, completely obliterating the last vestiges of the Pharos lighthouse. The quake dislodged some of the heavy polished white limestone casing blocks of the Great Pyramid of Giza, massive 20-ton mirror-smooth surface stones. The Muslim city of Cairo, a few miles away, is also damaged, and Muslim engineers begin removing the Great Pyramid's casing blocks to rebuild government buildings and mosques in Cairo. Construction is begun on the Mosque of Sultan Hassan. Blocks would continue to be taken from the site for 6 years. In chronotecture, lost science of prophetic engineering, we find that the internal world calendar encoded within the dimensions of the Great Pyramid's internal arrangements identifies the exact year, 1356 AD, as being a year related to its own casing blocks. There were originally 144,000 of these casing blocks, and they made the pyramid seem to be made of all one smooth stone. Herodotus, Strabo, Diodorus, and a host of other ancient authors all wrote about the original condition of the Great Pyramid. The famous Arab geographer Ibn Battuta in this same year of 1356 wrote in his Travels of Ibn Battuta, quote, "The pyramids and temples are among the wonders known since antiquity. They have been much spoken of and much studied in regards to their function and the ancientness of their construction. They have no doors, and we do not know in what manner they were built." Unquote. In many old depictions of the end of the world by various cultures, there seems to always be images of the Great Pyramid related to this concept. Interestingly, the word apocalypse has a profound connection to the monument. The roots for apocalypse are apo and kalyeptin, or off and to cover. Therefore, an apocalypse is the taking off of a cover or a revelation. The Great Pyramid does have a fascinating timeline encoded within it, which has been the subject of many books that all failed miserably to show it until the research of chronotecture was finished. But this timeline was invisible because the pyramid was a secret, the internal chambers unknown, their measurements a mystery. Once the cover of the monument was removed, later researchers were able to discover many important secrets of the Great Pyramid. The principal geometric message of the Great Pyramid's 4 base cornerstones identifies the year 2046 AD as being the end of an orbital chronology involving Earth, and as seen in 2046 AD, the Earth will indeed be pushed off of its present orbit by Nibiru. Further, this year, 1356, was 690 years before 2046 AD, or 138 times 5 years, 138 years being an orbital period of planet Phoenix. 1. History in quotations. 2. Biblical antiquities. 3. The Great Pyramids, Cortegiani. 4. Gods of Eden, Bramley.